All right, now we're ready to do some of our work with iReady. iReady is something that we've used in fifth grade for a few years now, and I really like it because the format of the questions and the work you have to do to find the correct answer is very similar to the way the LEAP test is set up. Oftentimes, you will select an answer by going back to the text to make sure you have the right answer, and then you'll have to provide evidence to back up your claim. And that's kind of how the LEAP is. You have part A and part B questions, and you have to get both of them right. And the way that the iReady book is set up, I think also can help you with your writing because you're often having to think of what's the best evidence to prove your answer. And you're going to need to do that when you're writing. You need to have the best evidence to support the claims that you're making. So we're going to go ahead and get into lesson one, finding main ideas and details. Our learning target says figuring out the main ideas of a text and the key details supporting them is necessary for understanding that text. So being able to find the main idea and the key details shows comprehension. It shows that you actually understand what you've read. A topic is what a passage is about. A main idea is an important idea about that topic. Short passages usually develop just one main idea. Long passages often have two or more main ideas. A passage's details are the facts, examples, and other information stated in the text. The details that help explain a main idea are called key details. We sometimes say that key details support main ideas. Read the passage below and underline what you think is the main idea. Then look for key details that help explain it. At some point in your life, you've probably looked up, gazed at the moon, and studied it in wonder. Throughout time, the moon has inspired many people. In 1801, Ludwig van Beethoven composed a piano piece called Moonlight Sonata. Later in 1889, Vincent van Gogh painted The Starry Night. In this painting, swirls of white and yellow create a halo around the moon. In 2011, Marilyn Singer wrote a book called A Full Moon is Rising about how people all over the world celebrate the moon. The next time you gaze upon the moon, maybe you'll be inspired by it too. Okay, so if you were in class, I would have you try to guess the main idea and the key details, and then we would look at our next activity, but we're going to go ahead and move on because it involves doing that. So they want us to figure out what the main idea is and put it here, and two key details. Now look, they gave us a key detail. So since they gave us a key detail, what we're going to do is we're going to finish filling in the bottom because these key details, they hold up the main idea. So it says Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata was composed in 1801. That's a key detail. Now, one thing you're going to have to do a lot in this class, and just get used to me saying it, is to go back to the text. You don't read it through one time and then go back and try to figure out the answer. You go back and you're going to probably have to reread certain passages several times in order to fully understand them. And that's just part of being a fifth grader, a middle school student. And from here on, all the way through the rest of your reading career, there will be times where you will have to go back to the text. You do a quick read through, and then you go back and you try to make sure you understand the meaning of that passage. So we're going back to the text. And we know our key detail is Ludwig van Beethoven. So see if you can figure out what another key detail would be as we reread this. At some point in your life, you probably looked up, gazed at the moon, and studied it in wonder. Throughout time, the moon has inspired many people. In 1801, Ludwig van Beethoven composed a piano piece called Moonlight Sonata. Later in 1889, Vincent van Gogh painted The Starry Night. In this painting, swirls of white and yellow create a halo around the moon. In 2011, Marilyn Singer wrote a book called A Full Moon is Rising about how people all over the world celebrate the moon. The next time you gaze upon the moon, maybe you'll be inspired by it too. Okay, so I see my first key detail. So let's see, what do we think our second one would be? It's that in 1889, Vincent van Gogh painted The Starry Night. So I'm going to go down here. And normally when you open these PDFs, your toolbar will be on this side. I just move mine to this side over here to the right because that's how I like it, but you can use it however you want. So I'm going to do a text box. And I'm going to do it here. I'm having some trouble. There we go. Okay. All right, so Vincent van Gogh painted the Starry Night in 18, and I'm gonna have to look this up. Let's see, I'm going back to the text. In 1889. Okay. Now, what's the next sentence? Because this sentence was my next key detail. So let's look at the next sentence. In this painting, swirls of white and yellow create a halo around the moon. Okay, this sentence supports the sentence before. So if my key detail is supported by another detail, this is not going to be a key detail. It's a minor detail. How do I know? Because this sentence only supports the sentence before it. It's connected to the sentence before it about Vincent van Gogh's painting. It's not connected to the thing about Beethoven. It's not connected to the next sentence. So this is not going to be a key detail. All right, my next sentence says, in 2011, Marilyn Singer wrote a book called A Full Moon is Rising about how people all over the world celebrate the moon. That's going to be my third key detail. All right, let's expand this. In 2011, Marilyn Singer wrote a book called A Full Moon is Rising about how people all over the world are inspired by the moon. Okay, so these three are my key details. Now we want to see what sentence shows the main idea. What sentence do these three support? Now, when you were in fourth grade and maybe in earlier grades, the main idea was often the very first sentence. But in fifth grade, it's often not. Even in the essays that we do, we'll do an introduction, and the last sentence we have in that paragraph will be in the first paragraph will be the main idea of your essay, what we call the thesis. So from here on, be aware of that the first sentence isn't often the main idea. It's usually just an introduction to the main idea. All right, so at some point in your life, you probably looked up, gazed at the moon, and studied it and wondered. So this is talking to you, the reader. This is not the main idea. Throughout time, the moon has inspired many people. Okay, what are these three examples of? The way the moon has inspired many people. So that's going to be my main idea. All right, so throughout time, the moon has inspired many people. Okay, so I have my main idea and my three key details. And that's going to be it for this lesson.